Building Committee.
Supposed to go west.
Okay, we got it.
Blocked it also.
Wise to go yet. Roll call, please.
Alderman Art Woods.
Happy to report I'm here.
Alderman Curelli.
Here.
Alderman Carr.
Here.
Alderman Fonseca. Absent. Alderman Fasano.
Here.
Alderwoman Ames.
Here.
Alderman Artie Woods.
Here.
Alderman Catalano.
Here.
Great, we have a quorum, sorry. Approval of minutes, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for February 12th, 2026 of the Planning, Zoning, and Building Committee.
Second.
Any questions, comments? Otherwise, no? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. We have two reports tonight.
You have those, right?
The first report is the multiple text amendments to the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 17, and the Sign Code, Chapter 13. We are waiting for our board to start up, and then Director Springer, you have a few words for us tonight?
Yes.
Yes?
She
Okay.
will. As soon as she gets the presentation.
We had a brief power out, and everything has to restart. We had 4 of them at our house today. Very rare. Is that it?
Right by the power, right by the trailer park.
Oh,
Two main power lines are floating down.
Ah, I wonder.
Well, that might,
I didn't
Right
see it.
across, Park District, right up the mattress.
All right,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I think
Thank
we
you.
are ready. So this evening, we are proposing some UDO text amendments. As you know, we periodically do this as we come across things in the code, or as things change over time, or new uses become available, or where we see a glitch that we need to amend, or upon the recommendation of the committee or council or other people. So, we have 13 text amendments. I am going to briefly touch on each one, probably about 15 or 20 seconds on each one, let's hope. So the first one is automatic zoning of newly annexed properties. So when property is annexed to the city, it's automatically zoned the most restrictive classification, which is the R1 Estate Residential Zoning District. If, upon annexation, that isn't the appropriate zoning classification for your property that you annex, you have to go through a public hearing to change the zoning district. So that's CDC, all the fees coming to the committee and city council. So just to change it to an appropriate zoning classification. So what's being proposed here is an administrative approval for rezoning of residential properties upon annexation. Basically, whatever residential classification your property is next to, which is usually the most appropriate classification, it can be administratively assigned, which saves new residents the hassle of going through the approval process.
Alderman Woods?
so, you said this is just for residential. So in the case of, I'm just thinking of the Park District most recently, right, that was zoned R1 residential. So if that was annexing in, that would annex in as,
It would still annex in as a R1 if we could administratively change it. However, that is the appropriate classification for parks. Any single-family residential district, park property requires a special use, but it has to be in a residential classification.
let me move to the 390 for the park. That was all, Park District building, that was also R1.
Correct, but that was a rezoning, it wasn't an annexation. So this is only upon annexations of property for residential uses.
So only residential, I guess the point I'm getting into, so if I annexed in a piece of property unincorporated, right? That's why I'm annexing in, and it was R1 already, i.e. the Park District ones, so they were, it's the only one I can think of. There might be better examples. I don't, it's the only one I have in my head. So as they annex into the city, they would annex in as, would still be considered residential and annex in as R1?
Even if we do nothing, when people annex in, they're automatically zoned by operation of law to the most restrictive zoning classification. So everyone that annexes in is R1. If it's, let's say, a single-family home, and the appropriate classification is R2 or R3, then we could just change it to the R2 or R3, provided it's adjacent to that lot.
So again, going back to the Park District, under our rules now, it would come in as R1. What would it come in after we make the change?
Still R1.
Even though everything around it is,
It's not a residential use, so this is only for residential uses.
okay, so I guess that's maybe what I'm trying to vet out in my head, the word use and what the actual zoning says it is.
Sure.
So, right, there's a disconnect between R1 and 390 Golf and Salt Creek Golfing, at least for me. Right, okay. I don't know if that completely answers it, but
Mayor, please.
I think you answered this the other day, but, so, in some areas we have, 50-foot lot and then a 75-foot lot, whatever. So if you got both 3 and 4 or 2 and 3, and this house is in the middle, it becomes,
It would become whatever the most appropriate classification would be. So, for example, if we did go to CDC, the staff would have a recommendation that this lot, based on its width, is more appropriate, and its size, is more appropriate to this zoning classification, this R classification, either R2 or R3. And as long as R2 or R3 were adjacent to it, it would be automatically zoned to that.
all right.
Thank you.
Sure. Personal services. So personal service is kind of a catch-all category for us. And we recognize that there was a need to clarify the difference between personal service fitness activities and indoor athletic facilities, which require a special use. So, for example, the small fitness center that moved into Georgetown, if that was considered an indoor athletic facility, it would require a special use. If it was considered a personal service, it wouldn't. And so it's been a little confusing for people and the staff to determine which one applies. So the proposal is to clarify that small gyms are personal services, and any gyms over 10,000 square feet which is an indoor recreational facility. So that's the cutoff, the 10,000. Usually if you have a small gym, little impact on traffic, little, not a lot of cars coming, but something larger should get a special use because we want to evaluate the impacts. The next one is site plan review standards. This is an easy one. If you apply for site plan review, you have to fill out standards and say how you meet them. Well, right now, the standards for site plan are written in disapproval, in the negative. So it says standards for site plan disapproval. That's confusing to applicants and also to the staff. Nothing else in the code is written that way. So we are proposing to rewrite the standards to be in the positive, to increase legibility and understanding, but no change to the content.
Alderman Woods?
yeah, so for starters, my basic question, what was the driver to make this change, as this has been written this way and written this way in every other community I've ever dealt with? And by law, told that's the way it has to be, even though the language is somewhat clumsy, because you're thinking backwards when you go through these hearings, kind of. Could you speak to what was the big driver to
So this was changed back in the UDO rewrite in 2022. I think it was recommended by, the authors, the attorney involved. And I have not seen it in the negative, and staff was having difficulty explaining it to applicants. So when these things come up, we add them to a list of UDO text amendments, and then once every 9-12 months, we grab a bunch of them and bring them forward. So since this one wasn't urgent, it ended up coming up on the list now. Yeah, go ahead.
I would just also add that none of the other standards are written in the negative. So when you're responding to any of the other types of planned unit development standards, special use standards, any of the other standards in the code are not written in the negative. So it's a unique situation and it is confusing.
Thank you.
Exterior building materials. So this came up when we were talking about the building code update. So we used to have minimum types of masonry and other durable materials listed in the building code. For commercial and industrial, it was 85% of the building had to be those materials, and for residential, it was 25%. Following up on that discussion that happened here during the Finance Committee, we are proposing a minimum of 50% full masonry stone or split stone block, excluding windows. So it's not really quite 50% of the facade, because you minus out all the windows, and then the remaining 50%. So that is what is being recommended, as was suggested by the council, and the petitioners will be able to seek a zoning variation if they do have a unique hardship of some sort.
Alderman Woods?
So does that have to be full masonry, or could that be the faux or wire cut thin brick or thin stone, as they call it? That's
So based on that question from before, we have listed full masonry stone or split stone block as the types of materials.
and why would we not allow the other one? When you look at it, I'm assuming we're trying to achieve an aesthetic, not a structural thing, right? Why would, if they look the same, why would you not allow?
We have allowed that in the past, and if the committee would like to do that, we can certainly add that. It's more of a veneer, it's not the full face brick of 4 inches. It's, this big, but yes.
But in the application, so there's the process of applying it with the Durarock or something behind it, set and mortar, and then mortar jointed just like full masonry is. Its application, especially in taller buildings, i.e. the apartments next door, would be more cost effective, right? And your ability to do that would be greater than full masonry, which then you get into the geometry of it, requiring 4- and 5-inch brickleads, bigger foundations, and all those things. So I would ask that we add language that
Sure.
as it really doesn't make an aesthetic difference, unless somebody else has.
No, I agree. Bear, please.
I had a different question, but you're just talking about like those squares of bricks that look like brick. I see them they're even advertised where they get rid of the vinyl and they slide the brick in. Now it looks like you have a brick front, right? Is that what we're talking about, or are we talking about something else?
I'm specifically talking about actual brick. You can go downtown, a lot of those buildings have veneer, if you will. I mean, full brick
Yeah,
is
it's
a
face
veneer
brick.
also, but the thin cut, or wire cut as they called it in the industry, so they take a real stone and cut it to 2 inches thick, between 2 and 2.5 inches thick, and adhering to the building, full mortar set, right? So it's the same product. It's not a faux product that's made spray applying some coating to vinyl or some other thing. So it's that's why I say aesthetically it's the same product, just from a geometry and engineering standpoint, it affords more flexibility and allows the builder or developer to reduce costs somewhat and be more likely to meet the higher demand at the 50%. That's my
Mayor,
reasoning
please.
anyway.
My question was based on, so this is also for residential? When people are doing homes? No.
No, just
Okay.
multifamily residential.
Okay, all right. No, because I see a lot of houses now go up. They might have something brick looking in the front, but then all the sides are all, okay.
Alderwoman Ames?
So just to clarify what Alderman Art Woods was saying, so is that the same as the split stone block that you have listed on there, or is this a different, because the way you were describing that seems like it looks like, it's just not as
Different.
thick. So is that different?
It is different. So concrete is obviously, concrete block, so the split face is the aggregate appearance. It's not smooth block, but split block, and stone is obviously stone. So what the brick is that we're talking about is, in our language, we call it face brick. So it can be made a bunch of different ways. You can either slice off pieces of the brick and stick them, on a mortar plate. You can, do it that way. You can also color a material that looks like brick and then scrape out the, in-betweens. So we'll put an appropriate word in there that covers what it's called.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Drive-through vehicle queuing. Every community that I'm aware of has a minimum number of stacking spaces you have to have in a drive-through. So you got to be able to fit a certain number of cars. Some communities require as many as 12. When we were doing our research, we saw some that required 20. We're recommending a minimum of 6 queuing spaces per drive-through lane. It wouldn't impact anybody that we currently have or any of our existing drive-throughs in town, but we have seen places where cars can back up into a roadway if they don't have enough stacking, and it can affect the site circulation, which obviously is a safety issue.
Alderman Woods?
The old Tidal Max that's still vacant.
Yes.
My concern is obviously getting someone in there. What are the amount of spaces available there for a potential drive-through? Because that's probably pretty close.
There's probably 20.
20?
What they would do if a drive-through went in there would be create one drive-through window, and the way you access the site is off of Wooddale Road, and then you drive north around the building. Cars could stack all the way around.
Okay, so it's a non-issue, that's
Yeah,
all?
non-issue.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Maximum lot coverage for permeable surfaces. So, according to the stormwater ordinance, the DuPage County Stormwater Ordinance, permeable pavers are considered 100% permeable. So you can use them even if you don't have any lot coverage left on your lot, because they're like free. They consider them 100% permeable. But the openings on permeable pavers are only like 5% of the surface, or between 5 and 15% of the surface. So a lot of it's still solid, and it can cause runoff on adjacent properties. And it can, contribute to flooding if they are used in excess. So we have had people apply to put permeable turf in their entire backyard, or permeable pavers in their entire backyard with no grass. And the problem with that is it sheets off onto adjoining properties and it creates flooding issues. So what we're proposing is text that would limit those types of things, permeable pavers, artificial turf, porous concrete, to no more than 40% of a required yard, rear, front, corner side, side, for that purpose.
Alderman Woods?
So up here, and maybe it's just on your presentation, I didn't double check. So the line 40% of any front, rear side, or corner side yard, is that also inclusive of rear yard? I know it
Yes.
says rear side, but they are two different things, so I'm, for clarity, since this is,
Good catch, that is a typo. There should be, it should
Okay.
say rear, comma, side, comma.
all right. And 40% in total. So if my total side yards add up to 1,000 square feet, I can put 400 square feet, cover 400 square feet with
40% per yard.
permeable, permeable pavers or product.
Right. 100 is 40%.
Mayor, please.
40% of each yard.
Wait,
Of each
they might have,
It's not in total.
There's, right,
He's saying, I think what I heard was if your rear yard was 1,000 square
no,
feet.
collectively. So if all my yards totaled 1,000 square feet, I can total cover 400 square feet? Or is it bifurcated, so rear yard is one thing, it's a la carte, right?
Yes.
Rear yard, I can do 40%, side yard, I could do 40%, but I couldn't do 40% of the total in the rear yard. The total of all the yards.
It's not total of all the yards.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
It's each
I
individual yard.
can't do.
Yes.
Okay, so then my follow-up, if I can, on the same line, is that inclusive or exclusive of other coverage that's standalone by itself?
It's just the permeable pavers, just those things.
So-
So if you had a big patio and you had a shed and you had a gazebo, those don't count toward the 40%.
Okay, thank you.
Assistant Director Purvis?
Nope.
Thank you. We will still have the lot coverage requirement as well. So all your non-permeable surfaces are limited as well.
That doesn't change.
That doesn't change.
Mayor, please.
okay.
So I just want to follow up to that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So, but before, the argument's been, or I think why we're here with the 100%, is that the permeable pavers acted as if they didn't exist because they didn't count towards coverage, right? They were just a non-entity at that point. So I guess the big change now you're saying is we're taking the total lot coverage. I don't have that number off the top of my head, but we'll call it 50% or 60%. And when I subtract the house, the driveway, the sidewalks, the patio, the shed, I'm left with a number left, and we'll say maybe that's 20%. So theoretically, saying we can go to 40%, we might not ever be able to get to 40%? Would you say that that's?
No, because the permeable pavers still won't count toward your maximum lot coverage of 40%. They still don't count. But you can only cover an individual yard 40%. So this doesn't relate to your total lot
Okay,
coverage.
so that one, Assistant Director Purvis made that statement, and I kind of correlated the two, so thought that one was guiding the other. So I can just maximum, because they don't count, but I can only cover 40% of the yard. All right, thank you. Now it's clear to me.
Mayor, please.
So in our ordinance, we raised years ago from 35 to 40 because we kept getting, people coming in for extra square footage, right? So we just went to 40 feet. We did the study, right? So we're at 40 and we're still, I think, a little stringent compared to, but then I thought we added like a 5% lot coverage of 10 of the permeable pavers. So if we're taking 40% of whatever is open, so that's 60%, what, people can start putting permeable pavers all around the house, front, back?
Okay, so the maximum you can cover your lot of impervious surfaces for residential
40%.
is 40%. Industrial and commercial is 80%, but let's stick with the 40%. If you max out your 40%, but you still want to have more, if you use permeable pavers, you can go up to 50% because they're free. That doesn't change whatsoever. So you still have to get an engineering review, prove that you're installing them properly so that, you know, the base is permeable. But you can go up to 50%, between 40 and 50 with the permeable pavers. That is completely separate, that's not changing. This is just saying you can only cover an individual yard with 40% of pavers, because we have this problem of people trying to cover their entire backyards and side yards with these things, which will create runoff problems. So they're kind of completely separate issues.
So let's say somebody did the 10%, the house is big enough, it's already took 40, they got the permeable pavers, so now they could put out more permeable pavers? Is that, am I understanding that right? So I know that you said the county,
Considers, yep. That's exactly what's happening. So if you want to exceed lot coverage, you can put it, they're like free. So you can right now put permeable turf and permeable pavers on every portion of your lot if you wanted to and have no grass anywhere.
but it's a follow-up. So we went through all this, these permeable pavers, if they start getting dirt and stuff, and they basically, there's no more permeable to them, and we're allowing, I'm just, you know, I'm just trying to make sure we don't, I don't know. So, because the county's at 100%, that's not our code.
We adopt it. So we've adopted theirs. We've made some local amendments, but not to this section. So this is why we're
okay.
trying to have the zoning
To shrink it.
control this
Okay.
a little bit.
All right, got it.
All right.
Alderwoman Ames?
So if this passes for this 40%, what happens to the people who have already violated this? Do they need to comply with this, tear out what they have? Like, what happens?
So if we've issued a permit, then it's legal non-conforming and they get to keep it. When they go to replace it in, 10, 15 years, they will have to comply. Unless we adopt some regulation.
Continue.
So for people who have done this without a permit and have been identified as that, then they would have to meet this current, if this passes, meet this and become in compliance with.
Correct. That is called illegal. What we're talking about is legal non-conforming. Like
Okay.
they followed all the rules they were supposed to. We issued a permit, they got approval. Someone who did not, they have to apply for a permit and they're subject to the current rules in place.
Right, because the neighbors next door are experiencing flooding issues because of what they've
Yes.
done to their yard, and they're not happy about it, so, and they did not have a permit to do that.
Oh.
Okay, okay, thank you.
Alderman Woods?
So back to, you mentioned engineering approval or review. So obviously I got to apply for a permit, and part of that permit is they're going to submit, I'm assuming, the manufacturer's specifications to meet the permeability of the product. Is that the only review, or is this going to be one of those things where the homeowner has to post $2,000 bond and go through this laborious review process? I mean, to me, it should be fairly simple, right? There's pretty standard details to install these things.
So right now, nothing is changing. So right now, if you want to put in permeable pavers, it requires an engineering escrow and a review by the engineer. So anybody that has been doing it since, I don't know, at least 15 years, has been, that process won't change.
Okay. What's the engineering escrow? How much is that? 1,000?
2,000? 1,000?
Give me a moment to look at the fee schedule.
Okay. It depends on the project, really.
And-
It's generally $1,000.
That's what I thought, but then part of the reason for asking is looking through the fee schedule, it looks like that we're changing a lot of those things, and a lot of those ones are changing to 5s. if I'm correct, or did I have it? Yes. So
Right of way.
that
Oh.
becomes burdensome for a homeowner to put up an additional fence out. That's all why I'm asking.
We will get to those.
Yeah, we can move forward. You can even tell me at the end of the meeting.
So EV charging. So we added, through a text amendment like this, regulations for EV chargers for commercial and industrial uses back in 2024. However, we didn't specify that they were only for commercial and industrial uses, and people who want to install them in residential applications think they have to comply with them. So we're just clarifying that the regulations for EV charging stations only apply to commercial, industrial, or multifamily. So it is $1,000 Parking in front yards along gateway corridors. So back in 2022, when we did the UDO rewrite, this new term was introduced. Community gateway corridors, and basically those are major entrances to, I'm sorry, major roadways in the industrial park that serve as physical entrances to the community. And the idea was, this is the way people are coming into town, we want to beautify, have more landscaping, hide the parking, in the side yards or the rear yards. But as we've tried to apply this, it's really difficult for developers to make that work with their site plans. And so pretty much everybody has requested a variation from that since we've applied it, and everyone has been given approval by the city council. So it has not been working as it was intended, and so we are proposing to remove that requirement.
Alderwoman Ames?
So when I read this, just initially, just reading it, I'm thinking, are you talking about parking in the grassy front yard of someplace? That's how but that's how this, when I read this,
Yeah.
that's what it sounds like, is that I'm able to park on the front yard of something. So
Okay.
maybe that's just not clear to me, but that was like a red flag as soon as I read this. I'm like, what? And I read what it said, but I'm like, that title, it sounds
Yeah.
like I can park in the grassy part, the front yard of the corridor gateway.
So for clarification, the prohibition was that you couldn't put a parking lot in between your front property line and the front of the building. And so what was intended was that you just have grass between the curb and the front of your building. So it's not that you can park on the grass, because that's not allowed. It was just you can't install a parking lot there. And so I can think of 3 off the top of my head that we just approved recently to do
Right.
that.
I guess the word yard is what
Oh.
makes me think of grass, front
Gotcha.
yard
It's
is,
just a parking lot instead of
yeah,
parking.
like yard.
So yard is a defined term in the zoning code, and it's the space between the front property line and the building. So that's
Nothing to
why
do
we
with the
call it yard.
grass. Okay.
And nothing to do with
Just
grass.
That's jumped out at me as being the grassy yard. Gotcha.
Alderman Woods?
Oh, sorry.
On the corridors, plural, is there more than one corridor that lead into Wooddale? I'm confused. In the industrial
Yes.
park, because that's all we're talking about, right, is the industrial park?
Yes. So there are, I believe, 6 listed in the code. Middle, and I'm not going to come up with all of them
Right, no, it's okay.
now, but Middle, Sievert, Central, there's some east-west roads as well, maybe Mark, Thorndale. So there's a bunch listed.
And we're just talking about the buildings that are at the end of that block that happen to be someone coming into Wooddale from another town, basically.
Correct.
Having a parking lot in front of their building.
Yes.
Okay, that's just making sure I understood. Thank you.
Internet sales with warehouse. So back when we redid the UDO, we created the new C3 zoning district, which is basically Potter Street. And some of the property owners, business owners in that C3 district, basically Potter Street, had asked that we add a new use called internet sales with warehouse. So it was added, and it was only added in the C3 district. However, and then recently, about 4 months ago, we also added it to the C1 district. So, however, we've had people asking, you know, can I have this use in an industrial district? And the answer is no, because it's only allowed in two commercial districts right now. It should be allowed in industrial, so we're proposing to add it to the 3 industrial districts. Eliminate wholesale as a standalone use. So wholesale is actually included in the definition of warehouse and distribution. So wherever warehouse and distribution is permitted, wholesale is also allowed. And a large number of businesses in the industrial park actually engage in wholesale activities, which is when you sell things to retailers rather than consumers. And so right now, wholesale is only allowed in one of the zoning districts, and it's not allowed in the rest of the industrial districts, but warehousing is, which includes wholesale. So it's confusing, and to eliminate that internal conflict, we're just going to get rid of the wholesale use altogether, because it's included in the others. Administrative lot consolidation. So anytime you go through any type of subdivision, it requires a public hearing, appearance before the CDC, PZB, and City Council. This proposed amendment would align with other communities to allow administrative approval of land transfers. That's when you take maybe a slice of your lot and you deed it to the guy next door because they need room for something. Or you have an existing lot that's big enough to be divided into 2 lots and not create any nonconformities. Or consolidation, which is when you take a bunch of lots and make them 1 lot. I'll just finish the explanation for this. So the consolidation of lots in these instances should be encouraged because it cleans up the lot records and helps apply the zoning regulations to the entire site. And so we would only allow this if there was no new nonconformities or variations that would be needed. It would only be if everything complied with the code.
Mayor, please.
Yeah, so I think you might have answered it. So if one neighbor gives 10 feet to his neighbor for whatever reason, and they pay him so much money, and, you know, he's happy and he's got less grass to cut or whatever. But then his lot is no longer 50 feet,
No.
and that can't be done. That's
Correct.
Okay.
He would have to seek a variation in that instance, and that would automatically kick it to the CDC for a public hearing.
right, okay.
Alderman Woods?
Do you have an example of where this would be applicable? Because this, I mean, typically when we change things, that means something's come up and frequently, which is why we make the changes. Can you speak?
It really has come up with lot consolidation. So sometimes there's someone that consolidates a lot because it's required by code, and they have to come through the process, even though what they're doing is exactly what we want them to do. They're creating a conforming lot.
So,
Go ahead.
Oh,
Follow.
okay.
so from a
Oh,
simple
no.
standpoint, I understand that. So when I did my house, I was on 2 lots, had to consolidate, right, to move on and build a bigger and better house. But I'm sure this has got other applications. So if we go through commercial property, you go down Irving Park Road, for instance, right? Those are all individual lots, 25-foot
Correct.
lots running down the road. So if somebody came in, you would be able to then just consolidate those administratively? Is that what we're?
Whenever anybody comes in for anything, we encourage the lot consolidation because it's so hard to apply front yard and side yard setbacks to when there's 5 lots on one property. So we encourage them to do that. And if that's the only thing they're doing in order to get their building permit, they're like, yeah, I'd love to do that. It has to go through this process for approval for just that item. Nothing else is changing.
But would they have to do it? Also, the secondary question.
If they're seeking approval for other things, like a variation, a PUD, a special use, yes, it is one of the requirements. But absent that, we suggest it, and if they want to do it, great, and if not, That's fine.
One last question, same line. About a big development, commercial, say possibly a Jewel Target area with outlots. Would that change any requirements on them to consolidate anything, or does that remain an outlot?
No, it's not forcing people to do this.
Okay.
This is, if it happens, then we can do it
That was
much
the word I was looking
simpler
for.
for applicants. Monument sign foundation landscaping. So the code requires new monument signs to have some pretty landscaping around the base. But the amount of landscaping and the type of landscaping isn't clear. It basically doesn't specify. And so we've had issues where people have put like daylilies around their sign, which are pretty for about a month. And then the leaves die, and then there's nothing there year-round. So the suggestion is that at least 50% of the plantings around the sign be evergreen or have a year, like a boxwood, or a year-round presence, so at least it looks attractive somewhat most of the year. Grand opening signage. So all businesses are allowed a temporary sign permit for a maximum of 15 days. Basically, you, as a business, you get to put up a temporary sign with a permit for a couple of weeks, 4 times a year. But for new businesses that are coming in, grand opening signs, currently, you'd have to use 1 or 2 or 3 of your temporary signs for that year. So we want to have a more business-friendly environment, and so we are proposing to add a grand opening sign category. So this would be exempt from permits, I believe, and you can have it up double the amount of time. So you'd have 30 days to put up grand opening signage, and you wouldn't have to use any of your 4 temporary sign permits. So it'll be a nice welcoming thing for new businesses.
Alderwoman Ames?
Yeah, so I was reading the information, I guess on packet page 17, I think. So it just says it would also allow the grand opening signs to be displayed for a longer period of time. You just mentioned double 30 days, but this just says a longer period of time. So is it going to be like specifically 30 days rather than, I mean, a longer period of time could be 6 months that you could have your sign up. So is that going to be
17.
put in there?
So I think it says, without getting to that page yet,
I think D-
below the black
Yeah.
line should show you that it says it's valid for 30 days.
Yeah, so D says that, but I just didn't, because like right up above it in that paragraph just says for a longer period
Yeah.
of time, so.
So the change is, to the code is what's actually in the blue and underlined.
D,
So
okay.
it says 30 days.
Okay, it was just kind of 2 different things. I just wanted to make sure. Thank you.
So legal has reviewed all these text amendments, and staff is recommending approval. And the CDC held a public hearing on February 23rd and voted unanimously to recommend approval, and that concludes my presentation.
So I'll make a motion to approve the multiple text amendments to the Unified Development Ordinance, Chapter 17, the Sign Code, Chapter 13, with the suggested modifications for the exterior building materials.
Second?
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Alderman Art Woods.
No.
Alderman Curley.
Yes.
Alderman Carr.
Yes.
Alderman Fasano.
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames.
Yes.
Alderman Artie Woods.
Yes.
Alderman Catalano.
Yes.
That passes. Thank you. Second item, 2026 update to the master fee schedule and text amendment to Chapter 12 Building Code. Ms. Berger?
Thank you, Chairman. So this is updates to the master fee schedule. Obviously, during our budget meeting in February, the Finance Committee was supportive of amending the fee calculation for commercial, industrial, and multifamily to 1% of the construction value. As you will recall, The building permit fees haven't been changed since 2018, and we did a surrounding community survey, and it showed that particularly our commercial and industrial building permit fees are very low. And we had found that a majority of those surveyed transitioned to a percentage of construction cost method. They all used to be the same as us, or similar, with the other method, and now we're going to go to the percentage method. I do want to mention that we switched to the cost per square foot method in 2018 from the percentage of construction costs, and now we're going back in that direction. At the time, there were issues with people underestimating the value of the work, and as a result, it reduced permit revenue, so that's why we switched to construction costs. But since then, communities have found a way to hinder the deceptive practices with some language, and so now more communities have gone back to the percentage route. And so they require the fee to be based on the greater of either the submitted construction cost estimate by the applicant or the ICC cost per square foot chart that is released every 6 months from the ICC. And if the estimate is still deemed to be unusually low, they have the ability to go ahead and ask for the contracts to confirm the value. This is that chart we saw back in February, and I just want to call your attention to, this is what we collected for these projects, and with the 1%, this is what we would collect for these projects.
I'll wait till the end.
In addition, in order to make this change to the 1%, we do need to amend the code to include some language that basically says, and I underlined the key language, the valuation of the building project shall be based on the greater of the estimated construction cost by the chart or the total construction cost provided by the applicant. And if it seems to be undervalued, we can request contracts for the construction.
Alderman Woods?
So I'm confused, if it's an either or, right, and then we go into language, if it's undervalued, how would it be undervalued if we took the greater of the either or, which what I assume would be the ICC chart, right? That would be the guiding document. Why would there be need for language after that?
So sometimes it's unique. So the average, that chart is based on like national averages. In our region, it's very possible that something costs more or there's something unique in accordance with the site. And let's say they're proposing, you know, underground water, stormwater storage, where the engineer's estimate is not at all, you know, appropriate. It's those types of unique situations.
Follow?
Yeah. And you hit on a sore spot right away with the underground detention. So, so the charts from the ICC, are they addressing that as a standalone piece of the building? I guess the big thing is, how far are we going to go to extract the maximum permit fee out of somebody, right? And again, I say that from the flip side of going, if I'm looking at a community, I'm not the big guy doing the apartments next door. So, but just from a smaller builder perspective, right? It's nice to know what those costs are, and so when it becomes debatable, right? I might not necessarily like the chart, but at least I understand it and go look at it and go, okay, now I know what my cost is. Or I send in my cost, I guess I could make an argument, which is going to fall short because it's going to be the lesser. I wouldn't submit one and say, hey, no, my building's more than what your chart says. Maybe other people would, I wouldn't. So I guess I'm looking to make it simpler, right? Can't it just be the either or? Which is really going to default to the chart.
So 99.9% of the time, it's going to be one of those two. It's the staff of the Community Development Department are not more knowledgeable than the contractors proposing the project. The only time it would come up is if our building official or our engineer consultants say something is off. And right now, what happens is they call the engineer, or the contractor and say, this isn't, possible, it's half the price of what it should be. And so, again, it hasn't happened since I've been here, but it has happened when I've been in other communities, and only a couple times. So it's just in rare instances for us to be able to have the option. But for the most part, it really won't be used.
Yeah, and the reason it's painful is because I ran into that and had that very debate in another community over what the cost of something was, and it becomes ambiguous what somebody else would pay for the product, what it cost me to produce the product, right? And that I got to be held to that higher standard of the number somebody else created. So I get the argument, maybe if it was ridiculous, it wasn't a ridiculous number, but when you get into, so not only you have the permit fee, then you have all the bonds and all the other stuff that go along with that, so it has a waterfall effect on the cost of things. So my opinion is I just like things simpler and just cleaner. So I applaud cleaning things up, but when then we introduce language that then adds a little ambiguity or opens the door a crack to make multiple arguments, then I get worried.
So this is really going to be applicable to industrial, commercial, those types of projects, not single-family residential.
Well, I'm talking commercial
Okay.
presently.
And for the most part, the smaller projects aren't, generating a lot, and it's not something we're going to, look at or pick on or anything. That's not the intent here. It's just in rare instances to have the ability to take a closer look. Other changes to the fee schedule. These were changes to Chapter 12 of the Building Code, so we are amending some language there that clarified that demolition permits are not required for residential accessory structures except detached garages or structures equipped with electrical plumbing. So right now, when somebody calls in and says, I just want to take my shed down and it doesn't have electrical or plumbing in it, we've been requiring a demolition permit, and that is not necessary. So we want to avoid that for residential. We changed the permit fee calculation to the 1%. We increased the construction management bond from $1,000 to $5,000 for utility permits because more restoration work is needed in the right-of-way. This is something that was suggested by Public Works. So we've added it in here, but it's not increasing escrows across the board. The ones for single-family residential are still $1,000. This is just for utility permits in the right-of-way. And the last one is updating the language engineering escrow to remove the word engineering because the escrow accounts it should be more generically named because they're used for other things. Other changes, these are to the zoning fees. We are proposing to increase the PUD fee from $650 to $750 to align with the higher fees charged by surrounding communities. We are proposing to increase the site plan review fee from $300 to $500 to align with other communities. We are proposing a preliminary review fee of $150 for projects that require more than one preliminary review, which is basically prior to application of a permit. So once you apply, you basically can, have reviews. But we've had people that are thinking of a project, have submitted 5 times. We've spent, a total of 12 hours or more to review the plans, and then they walk away. So at least $150 is a little amount of money that we can recover from that.
Mayor Police?
So the site plan review from 300 to, we're talking again, commercial, industrial, or somebody doing a driveway, is gonna have to
Correct.
come up with another next.
Yeah, site plan review is only for commercial and industrial and multifamily.
Alderman Woods?
So if I submit a commercial plan, right, the plan review fee is $500, will be $500, correct?
A commercial plan for a new development.
For a new
Yes.
development, yes.
Yes.
And then if I ask you, you make changes or corrections, and, right, I'm assuming, or I make changes or corrections, and ask you to review it again, that's
No.
now 150, okay.
So, once you've actually submitted an application, you've indicated intent to move forward, you've invested time and money in the plans, and we will
Okay.
review it as many times as needed. This is before that, for
For the
concept.
$500 though.
Before even the $500.
Okay.
You have an idea, and we spend an incredible amount of time reviewing it, and you're not sure if you're going to move forward, and then you walk away.
And again, I'm slow tonight, so I'm paying the 150 or the 500 to do that? I have some dream that I want to, I don't know, what's the property on Irving where the intersection, commercial, right? And I come in and go, hey, this is our idea that we're going to build over there. You guys look at that for nothing, or you charge me 150, or you charge me 500?
Actually, the first time we would charge you $0.
Nothing.
Yep, you just come in, I have a concept, we want to look at it, because the site plan review requires a formal application with all of the submittals, so engineering, landscaping, all that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Mayor Police?
So somebody comes in and does their preliminary review, pays $150 now, goes forward with the project. Does that $150 go towards the 500 or?
They wouldn't pay the $150 until after the first review. So let's say they submitted one, we looked at it, and then they submitted 4 more, and they still don't know that they want to apply, and then they decide. So we charge them $150 for all of the subsequent reviews. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. So we can review it 5 times then, if they want us to. But once they submit, did I answer the question?
No,
I don't
so-
think I did. Okay.
So if they
Got
submitted, so I understand this person's just guessing right now. But I put in the project, you charge me $150. You know what, okay, I'm going to go forward with the project. Does the 150 go towards the 500? So I only give you 350, or you're going to give me for another?
No, you have a choice after we review the plan, and you can decide whether to apply.
Oh, so the 500 will come,
Yeah.
so
the
you
one-
give me
If we
the,
start the 150, it's covering time we've already spent, and your new application fee will cover our time going forward.
okay.
And then the last one was zoning verification letters. Almost all you communities charge between $100 and like $300 or $100 for this. We don't have a fee. And we just had a request for 70 zoning verification letters, and those take a lot of time. So this at least would give us $100 for zoning verification fees. Yep.
Alderman Woods?
Could you clarify what the zoning
Oh, yes.
verification letter is?
Yes. Usually before someone sells a property, they have an appraisal done, and part of the appraisal is, hey, are there any code violations, any nonconformities? Does this thing comply with your codes? So we have to research all the building permit records, the zoning history, that type of thing, and actually do a site plan review to see if all the setbacks match and they have an appropriate number of parking spaces, that type of thing. Another time it's required is,
Diligence period.
yeah, due diligence for, if you're gonna, interested in buying a piece of property, and you want to know, hey, before I go ahead and buy this, what problems are there with this site from the city's perspective? All right. Oh, and
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the 2026 updates to the master fee schedule and text amendment in Chapter 12 Building Code.
Second?
Any further questions, discussion? Alderman Woods?
Yeah, so generally speaking, I'm in favor, but presently I'm going to vote against it to get clarity from the city attorney on some language issues. But
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Alderman Art Woods?
no.
Alderman Curley,
Yes.
Alderman Carr?
Yes.
Alderman Fasano?
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Artie Woods?
Yes.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
And the motion passes. Thank you. Thank you, Director.
Thank you. Both of these items are proposed to be on next week's city council meeting, so.
Okay. Items to be considered at future meeting, community park design services, spring, summer. Any additions? Then I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.
All right, I'd like to call to order the Public Works Committee meeting. Let the minute taker note that the same staff and elected officials are present. First, I'll start off by making a motion to approve the Public Works Committee minutes, Public Works Committee minutes from February 12th, 2026.
Second?
Any comments, questions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Report and recommendation. First, approval of a supplemental engineering agreement between the City of Wooddale and Robinson Engineering for the Ward 1 Stormwater Improvements Project in the amount of $75,900. That is my motion.
Second?
Director Lang.
Thank you, Chairman. We hired Robinson Engineering to design some stormwater improvements in the southeastern portion of Ward 1. That includes construction of a new detention basin at the corner of 83 and Oak Meadows, increasing the conveyance sewers along Oak Meadows, and retrofitting the existing basin that's between Edgewood and Woodside on Oak Meadows Drive. During the design process, some changes arose that required some additional design work beyond the scope of our original agreement. Namely, because the properties at the corner of 83 and Oak Meadows are unincorporated, we were required to obtain a permit through the DuPage County Stormwater Management Division. That proved to be much more entailed than we had originally anticipated. They required some additional hydraulic modeling to be done, some additional surveying, and we eventually went through 4 resubmittals as well in order to get that permit. We also requested some additional changes, including extending the sanitary sewer and getting the IEPA permit for that as well to serve any future annexations along Oak Meadows, as well as some grant application and grant management work. Happy to report that we've received 2 grants for this project. One through the EPA is the Green Infrastructure Grant Opportunity, just over $1.7 million for that grant, and then we also secured a DuPage County Water Quality Improvement Program grant in the amount of $100,000.
Any questions? Alderman Woods?
So when because we purchased that property a while ago, did we not incorporate it into the city upon
So those properties are not contiguous with the city's limit. There's actually a gap there. So we would have had to have gotten either the properties directly north of there or to the west of there to annex as well. We reached out to the property owners and they weren't interested in annexing.
Thank you.
Any other questions on this one? Roll call, please.
Alderman Art Woods?
Yes.
Alderman Curley,
Yes.
Alderman Carr?
Yes.
Alderman Fasano?
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Artie Woods?
Yes.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
And that passes. Next, approval of a proposal from West Tech Inspection Incorporated for the Ward 2 and 3 underground detention system inspection in an amount not to exceed $49,731.50. That is my motion.
Second?
Director Lang.
Many of you recall that we completed a rather large stormwater project on Potter and Prospect Avenue in Wards 2 and 3 some years ago. That included installation of about 6,500 feet of 10 by 10 underground box culvert. That work was covered by a 5-year warranty. So now that we're at the end of that warranty period, it's our responsibility to inspect the system and notify the contractor of any defects that will need to be corrected before we accept the project completely. That level of confined space entry and documentation is a little bit beyond what we're comfortable handling in-house. So we reached out to some firms that specialize in that work, and we received a proposal from West Tech Inspection to inspect the culverts and generate a report of any deficiencies that we could share with the contractor.
Alderwoman Ames?
So is this a yearly inspection that has to happen, or how long, or is this information good for?
So this is the first time that we've done it in 5 years. I would recommend that we do this at least every 10 years in order to track any deficiencies that might need to be addressed.
Does that include inspecting, I know there's, I forget what it's called, but the area that collects all the debris that I think we clean out, does that include inspection of that also?
The vortex chamber, we inspect that with our own equipment, and we clean that out with our Vector.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Alderman Carrion?
There were a lower price for this without drone footage. What value is the drone footage?
You know, having any footage of underground infrastructure is helpful to progress deficiencies over time. Say we do this in another 10 years, you can see something that may have formed and how it progresses to be able to better, you know, prioritize your improvements or your repairs. If the council didn't want to get it, you know, it wouldn't be all is lost. We'll still have a report with pictures and, you know.
If it sits for 10 years and then you look at it and say, oh, something's changed, but it's changed and you're going to have to fix it anyway, right? So
Correct, yeah.
I don't see the value necessarily.
Yeah, and that's why we did it as a not to exceed amount. The inspection, they budgeted for 5 days. They expected to only take 4, so the proposal will likely be less than this anyway. If we wanted to eliminate the drone footage as well, again, it's something that's nice to have, but if we don't want to spend the money on it, it's not all that important.
I would recommend taking it on.
Does anyone have any objection to take? Alderman Catalano?
Yeah, so when does the warranty expire on this?
I believe it's in July of this year.
July. So they're going to complete this by July, and if they find any issues, then they're going to go back to benchmark, correct?
Correct.
So there is at 556 Prospect, I brought this up before, there's a dip in the road from the construction. Who's responsible for that? I mean, it's getting worse. Every time you go over that, a bump. It's near the drainage area.
Yes, I'll have to see if that settlement of the roadway is included in that 5-year warranty period. If not, that's something that we'll address through our patching program.
Okay, thank you.
What was the rough cost on the drone?
The drone, I think, was about $9,000.
Okay, I thought it was 10. Does anyone have any objection to adjusting that? No? Okay. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, so I'll update my motion to be amended to reduced by the cost of the drone. If the seconder is good with that, was that you, Alderman?
I'm fine with it, yes.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Alderman Artwoods?
Yes.
Alderman Curley,
Yes.
Alderman Carr?
Yes.
Alderman Fasano?
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Artie-Woods?
Yes.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
And that passes. Next, approval of a change order number 4 to the professional services agreement between the City of Wooddale and Thomas Engineering for the fiscal year 23 through 25 Capital Road Program in the amount of $108,554.39. That is my motion.
Second?
Director Lay.
Thank you. We originally awarded a 3-year design agreement to Thomas Engineering for the road program back in 2022. A couple changes over the years led to the last 2 years getting pushed back multiple times due to budget reasons. The first year was split up over multiple years because we got a $3 million grant from the state, so we actually did a much larger program and split it up over 2 fiscal years, and then we delayed the final 2 years. We elected to do some STP projects in the meantime, the Metro lot. So, you know, their rates have gone up in that time. Also, we're requesting that we incorporate some storm sewer work in this year's program and some water main replacement in next year's program. So these would cover the design for that work.
Any questions on this one? Roll call, please.
Alderman Artwoods?
Yes.
Alderman Curley,
Yes.
Alderman Carr?
Yes.
Alderman Fasano?
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Artie-Woods?
Yes.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
And that passes. And finally, approval of a proposal from Velodine for replacement of liquid polymer activation system in an amount not to exceed $36,500. That is my motion.
Second?
Director?
Yeah, we operate, I believe, 3 polymer liquid blending systems at the North Wastewater Treatment Plant. They're all the same manufacturer. They were installed during the plant upgrades about 10 years ago or so now. One of the units has failed, so we'd like to replace it in kind. We got a quote from the original equipment manufacturer, and that work would be done after the fiscal year.
Alderwoman Ames?
Can you explain what is this liquid polymer activation system? What is that exactly?
Sure, I can't do it as eloquently as our Assistant Director, Mr. Gorelli, would, but the liquid polymer binds with the solids in the effluent and helps separate them out of the treatment process to form the sludge. It's the high level, 30,000 feet.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on this one? Roll call, please.
Alderman Artwoods?
Yes.
Alderman Curley,
Yes.
Alderman Carr?
Yes.
Alderman Fasano?
Yes.
Alderwoman Ames?
Yes.
Alderman Artie
Yes.
Alderman Catalano?
Yes.
And that passes. Items to be considered at future meetings, Ward 1 drainage improvements on 4-9, fiscal year 27 I&I program 423, fiscal year 27 road program in May, Irving and Central Signal also in May. Does anyone have anything they would like to add? Alderman Catalano?
Yeah, I should have put that in planning and zoning. I was looking to raise the fees on parking in front of fire hydrant. Chief, if we can look into that. Thank you.
Anyone have anything else they'd like to add? Seeing none, I'll make some motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned.